Is that Scott Graber in the lower right-hand corner? That's the city council meeting for Monday, August 3rd, 2020. If you're not speaking, could you please mute your mic? Thank you. We have in attendance with us the following city officials. Take it away, Diane.
Mayor Kathy Catazero Perry. Wine. Barb Sylvester.
Present.
Jane Ferraro. Debbie Bonk.
Present.
Justin Richard. Bill Bartos.
Bill Bartos here.
David Crock. Jason Pokill.
Yes, Jason's here.
Samantha Walters.
Here.
Dave Maley. Steve Pedro. Chief Mosier. Chief Bergasser. Lori Katagides Boron.
Here.
Let's see. Terry Argent. Okay, that's all the norm.
Thank you. When you said mayor, I didn't hear. Was Kathy here?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Under number 5 on the agenda is where the public can speak on any item that appears on tonight's agenda. And then again, under number 17 is where the public can speak on any item that does not appear on tonight's agenda. Again, please, if you're not speaking, if you could mute your mic, we could limit the background noise. That would really be helpful. Roll call.
Kramer.
Present.
Gregg.
Present.
Mike Gregg.
Hearing me?
I do now. Okay, thank you. Alter. Hurricane.
Here.
Lewis.
Present.
Littman.
Here.
Lombardi.
Here.
Starrett.
Here.
And Barrett.
Present.
Roll call of 9 present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All present and accounted for. Councilwoman Starrett.
Thank you, Madam President. If you could all join me in the Lord's Prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Thine is the kingdom and power. Amen. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Barrett. Madam Clerk, are the minutes of the previous meeting transcribed and open for public viewing?
No, I'm still working on them. They should be posted by tomorrow.
Thank you. We're at number 5 on the agenda, where anyone from the audience may speak on any topic that does appear on tonight's agenda. If you wish to do so, please state your name, address, and topic you wish to discuss, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Hearing none, we'll move on to new and miscellaneous business. Does anyone have anything? Hearing none, we'll move into introduction of ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 73, 2020.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to execute the preliminary legislation with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, for the SR-21 guardrail replacements upgrades within the City of Massillon, PID 103432, and declaring an emergency.
Is Diane breaking up for everybody or just for me?
Everyone.
Okay,
Want me to try it again?
yes, please.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to execute the preliminary legislation with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, for the State Route 21 guardrail replacements upgrades within the City of Massillon, PID 103432, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, that was much better. Councilman Barrett.
Hi, thank you, Council President. This legislation is just giving the ODOT permission to operate in our city, as our engineer explained to us last week. If anyone has any questions now before we vote, now's the time. Hearing none, I'd make a motion to suspend the rules for three readings and bring this to the floor for a vote.
Seconded by,
Creamer.
roll call for suspension.
Kramer,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Halter, Hernkane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
and Barrett.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Greg,
Did you get that?
did that time.
Yes.
Halter, yes. Hernkane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
and Kramer.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 73, 2020 has passed. Ordinance number 74, 2020.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the 1203 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Program Fund fiscal year 2020, 2021 for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes, as discussed, we are looking at the appropriation for the CDBG funds that we have already budgeted and approved that budget. This is the appropriation portion. Do we have any questions or discussion this evening?
Mr. Lewis, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you. As in previous matters regarding the Boys and Girls Club of Massillon, where a member of my family works, I would like to state that I have a conflict of interest and shall not vote.
Councilman Lewis?
As we did last time, I know we haven't thoroughly vetted this yet, but last time an abstention was brought up, the council body considered it and voted as to whether or not to accept the abstention. It'd be up to you, Madam President, if you wanted to continue in that.
If it's something we're going to do, then I think we do it all the time. If it's something we're not going to do, then I don't think we pick and choose.
Same here. I think it's a model, and from my understanding of the rules of council, it's the model we should be following.
Any other comments from councilmen? Council people, if they want to vote on the abstentions? Come on, someone have an opinion. We either do it or we don't do it.
Councilman Beard, it's fine with me.
To vote on all abstentions?
Yeah, as long as we do it the same way all the time.
Okay.
Council President,
Yes, ma'am.
this is Linda Littman. I guess I would like to refer back to our council opinion. And just to confirm again, I know we had prior discussion, but I guess as part of this meeting, could we have an opinion as to how our law department believes that we should approach this subject?
Mr. Bartos?
Madam President, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so thank you for recognizing me. For when it comes to abstentions and matters of conflicts of interest for the purposes of public office and public ethics, an abstention due to a conflict of interest, it's a personal decision that must be made by the individual council person. And so to, put that up for a vote, you're putting, the council person's conflict of interest, which he has to make or she has to make according to law. It's not a, provisional or an option. That person has to abstain from all, voting, discussion, et cetera, if there is a conflict of interest. And you're subjecting that to a vote in this situation. And I believe actually that if you look at the rule in question, the language refers to conflicts of interest separately for excuses for special reasons. And this it's Rule 56. And this language actually, I found it going back well into the 1800s in an Ohio House of Representatives, rules of the Ohio House of Representatives actually. And it was almost the identical language, except for the fact that the city of Massillon added the language, or unless the member states that he or she has a conflict of interest, and in good conscience, he or she cannot vote on the question. And so that, I read that every member present, let's just read it in full together. Every member present, when the question is put, shall vote, unless counsel for special reasons shall excuse him, or unless the member states that he or she has a conflict of interest and in good conscience, he or she cannot vote on the question. So as written, there are two exceptions. Unless counsel for special reasons excuses the member from voting, or unless the member states that he or she has a conflict of interest and in good conscience, he or she cannot vote on the question. And, you know, based on my reading of this language, and I think that this is a good example of, you know, I believe that this language probably added to account for the fact that under the public ethics laws, you know, it's a mandatory situation, and it's, you know, incumbent upon all public officials when they have a conflict of interest to make that decision personally and, you know, amongst themselves, to abstain not only from voting but also from discussion. Now it goes on to say a request to be excused from voting, which is different from stating you have a conflict of interest, shall not be in order unless before the council divides or before the call of yes or no is commenced, and may be requested, and any member member requesting to be excused from voting may make a brief verbal statement of his reasons for making such request, and the question shall then be taken up without further debate. So the language, though not, you know, as tactfully written, perhaps as it could have been, I believe that the addition of the conflict of interest language is written with the fact in mind that, you know, to put up for a vote, you could imagine a situation where, you know, council perhaps, and not saying that this council is in any situation where it would do that or even contemplate this, but imagine a council where, you know, one council person is, you know, is not a favorite of the rest of the members. And that one council person says, I have a conflict. And the rest of the council people say, no, you're going to vote. Well, what does that council person do? They either vote and, you know, risk violating the public ethic laws and, you know, potentially committing a crime, because those are criminal penalties, or they, you know, refuse to vote. Potentially they're held out of order under council rules, and they have to go through that process and deal with that situation. So you can see the potential standoff and the potential issue that it raises if you have a conflict of interest and you vote on those. So keep all those in mind and take that into consideration when you decide if you want to vote on conflicts of interest.
Councilman Lippman, did he answer your question?
Yes, yes. And I guess that my opinion then would be that we should adhere to the advice of our legal counsel.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilman Lewis.
I've spoken with Mr. Bartos about it, and I understand his reasoning. I think this rule obviously needs to be looked into, and the wording probably changed to be more clear. But previous legal opinions and advice that that council has received from previous law directors is different than that. So we have, again, a situation where, depending on who is looking at it and whatnot, their legal opinion, which is this is different. So we can decide, and ultimately it's the council that decides. He's offering advice, and we decide on how we want to move forward. It looks like we really need to just investigate this, explore this, and resolve it. Maybe not right at this moment, but here soon.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilman Lippman.
I would say that I have abstained in prior terms. I'm a third-term council person. And when I have abstained in the past, now not in this current term, but in prior terms, council had not voted on whether to accept my abstention or not. So I think that at least in my recollection or my knowledge of prior years, I don't recall ever voting on an abstention. They stated the abstention, stated the reason for the abstention, and it just went forward.
Anyone else? I'm in
President,
agreement.
it's Mike Gregg.
Go ahead, Councilman Gregg.
I just wanted to make I have two concerns about this rule, and I agree with Mr. Lewis. We need to definitely look into this further and get this more clear for everyone's benefit. My concern about an abstention by just relying on the person who's abstaining is two things. One is the person may be perceiving a conflict of interest that really isn't one, and therefore should be able to vote and not really need to abstain. The other possibility, and I'm not saying that either one of these is at all in this situation. I'm just saying I can see going forward, you could have a couple issues. One is the problem with it's not really a conflict of interest, even though the person abstaining may perceive it as such. The other concern I have is that if an abstention is accepted without any question, that could allow a council person to not take a stand on an important point, an important vote. So I think we need some clarity on this, and that there's got to be, I would think, some way to make sure that those two situations don't occur. And I guess that's my comment. Thank you.
Anyone else? I feel that this is just my opinion, and we're going to let, the council can vote on whatever they want to do. Our present law people, Mr. Bartos, I would respect his opinion, and I respect council enough, each member of council, that unless you really feel strongly about something and the reason that you'd like to abstain, that I would appreciate if you would vote. But if you really feel that it's a personal issue, then I would respect your opinion enough. Having said that, we can discuss it and council can vote on it.
Madam President, I think just for the sake of tonight's meeting and more conversation, why don't we just give this first reading?
Sounds good. Ordinance number 74, 2020 has received first reading. Ordinance number 75, 2020.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the 1204 Municipal Court Fund, the 1205 Safety Forces Improvement Fund, and the 1233 Municipal Court Improvement Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes, I was able to reach out to Judge Eddie Elam, and he had stated that these particular funds were to be used for computer upgrades and cost associated with the new services that they did for the remote hearings and communications. They're web-based court proceedings and things of that nature. If you remember, maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks ago or something, we had some legislation to that same effect. So it's all based around, essentially their upgrades and changes that they've made, some related to COVID and other just general computer upgrades. Are there any other questions or discussions related to this issue? Seeing none, I make a motion that we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings for 75-2020 forward for a vote.
Seconded by Councilwoman Sterrett.
Thank you. Roll call for suspension.
Alter. Yes. Hurricane.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Littman.
Yes.
Lombardi.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Derrick.
Yes.
Creamer.
Yes.
And Gregg. Say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. 9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Hurricane.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Littman.
Yes.
Lombardi.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Derrick.
Yes.
Creamer.
Yes.
Gregg.
Yes.
And Halter. Yes. 9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 75, 2020 has passed. Is there any unfinished business?
No, there is not.
Are there any petitions and general communications?
No, there are not.
Are there any bills, accounts, and claims?
Yes, we have a bill in the amount of $458.80 for the publication of our June ordinances.
Councilman Lewis,
I make a motion to pay the bills.
seconded by,
Councilwoman Starrett,
roll call.
Lewis,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Garrett,
yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg, Gregg,
Okay, I don't know what's going on. Got it? Now you can hear me. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
What's going
Alter
on here?
Yes.
and Hurricane.
Yes.
9 yes to pay the bills.
Thank you. The clerk will pay the bills and charge them to their proper accounts. Are there any reports from city officials?
No, there are not.
Reports of committees. Our next work session will be Monday, August 10th, 2020 at 6:30 PM.
Madam
Councilman Gray?
President,
Yes.
just want to report I will not be able to attend next Monday's work session. I will be out of town.
Thank you.
Hopefully.
Anyone else? Councilman Lewis?
It's just a general question for the administration. If at the next work session, and as well as the auditor's office, I apologize, if you guys will be ready to give us an updated financial picture of the city now that the July 15th date has passed.
Yes, Mr. Lewis, we'll do the best that we can with our numbers. We'll be happy to share.
Thank you, Mayor.
If we can also make sure that message gets to Mrs. Ferraro as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Call of the calendar, nothing. Third reading ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 60, 2020.
An ordinance establishing the Massillon Small Business Assistance Program.
You're breaking up, Diane.
An ordinance establishing the Massillon Small Business Assistance Program.
Councilwoman Starrett?
Thank you, Madam President. As we've had many previous discussions on this, I believe we talked about just voting this and as a no vote tonight and working with administration to use the COVID funds in a possible additional small business loan and even possibly attempting to add in some rent, mortgage, eviction kind of relief for that. As everybody should have gotten an email this week, it looks like there was only about, there's only been about $112,000 of the COVID money that has been utilized at this point. So there is still a significant amount of funds that we need to get through. So I think we definitely need to get working on making sure that we have some of those funds available. And me and Mr. Lewis will be hopefully getting with the administration soon to work through that and see what we can do. So at this point tonight, I would just ask that we move this forward for a vote and that this be voted down.
Second? So are you suspending the rules first?
This is third reading, so we don't need to suspend the rules.
Thank you. You are so correct.
Lewis seconds.
Roll call?
Pittman,
No.
Lombardi,
No.
Starrett,
No.
Barrett,
Yes.
Kramer,
No.
Gregg,
Oh,
Alter,
No.
Hurricane,
Yes.
and Lewis.
No.
7 no and 2 yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 60, 2020 has failed. Ordinance number 69, 2020.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of 1100 general fund for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes, this is the ordinance related to the $245,000 appropriation to cover the costs of bills with the hospital property. This would include the money owed to Quorum as part of the real estate taxes. There would also be $75,000 for utilities and $10,000 for service and contracts. I'll remind everybody that the money that would be going to Quorum is actually money that we received in a payout from the county, and we received Quorum's portion, so we are sending it back out. I want to thank the administration and the auditor's office for sending us the detailed information that we asked for. We should have all received information regarding the revenues and the expenses. Then the day we received information regarding the legal fees that have been associated with the property. And then we've also received estimates on the monthly cost. I am happy to see that the monthly cost is now just below $30,000 a month, and that the current revenue gain that the city has had is above $1 million. Are there any questions or discussion this evening?
Yes, I have one.
Councilman Barrett.
I'd like to make a motion that we split this two articles, these two expenses, into separate ordinances before we vote on this.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hernkane. Roll call.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Barrett,
No.
Barrett,
Yes.
Krieger,
Yes.
Gregg,
Oh,
Alter. No. Hurricane,
Yes.
Lewis,
No.
and Whitman.
No.
You have 5 yes or no to divide the question on ordinance 69.
Five yes and 4 no.
Yes, ma'am.
So it will be divided.
Well, wait a minute. Wait.
I was
5
thinking it was
no
the
and
opposite.
4 yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So it has
5
failed.
no and 4 yes to divide the question on ordinance 69.
So it failed.
Correct.
Okay, back to Councilman Lewis.
Yes, so moving forward tonight, we've had a lot of discussion, so I'm going to make a few comments, and this is maybe more for the benefit of the citizens watching. We are trying to appropriate dollars so that we can pay the bills that we know are coming due. These bills are due regardless of our opinion, our feeling, or what we think should happen with the hospital property. If we choose not to appropriate those dollars to pay those bills, we will be indebted to those companies. They will enact their right to have fees and penalties, and we will actually end up having to pay more for a cost that we already know exists. It is, in my opinion, still irresponsible to not allow the appropriation to be put in place so that we can responsibly pay the bills as we would ask every citizen in our community to do so. I understand we are not happy that we still have the hospital, and many of us would love to see it go away quickly. Others of us believe we should have never gotten there in the first place. Fact of the matter is, we are where we are, a bill is owed, and it needs to be paid. Are there any other questions or discussion this evening?
Yes, I have a couple questions.
Councilwoman Kramer.
Thank you very much, President. So I need a little clarification. based on this ordinance. I understand the real estate property tax that we have to pay. And the 75,000 going to utilities for the hospital and 10,000 for service and contracts. Based on my review from the audit trail, I needed clarification who I reached out today. Looking at our 5 companies that we're paying on a monthly basis for utilities, AT&T, MCTV, Aqua Ohio, Dominion Energy, and Ohio Edison. Based on this information and looking at month by month totals of expenses of these 5 companies and looking at that $85,000, if we group together the 75,000 and the 10,000, that's 85,000. I'm trying to get clarification. I understand we have bills. Mr. Lewis, I'm fiscal responsible. I pay my bills. But I don't understand if our monthly bills with utilities and service and contracts approximately add up to $27,000, $28,000. What are we paying? Are we paying June bills that are remaining? Are we paying July bills? Are we paying into August and September? Like I've stated before, I need a timeline when we can stop this spending. So if I can get an answer from administration today, this 85,000, what are we paying this 85,000 towards?
Can anyone answer the question?
I would assume that would be the administration that would want to respond to that. I mean, I know general companies, but not execs.
Can anyone from the administration comment?
I mean, I guess that's where I'm standing tonight. I need to know for sure if I'm paying bills that we owe, Mr. Lewis, I'm okay for paying those bills. But what else are we paying through? Are we saying there's a hard stop in August 31st? Is this money go to the end of September? How far does this money carry us to? Because if I don't know that, I'm going to be hard pressed voting for this tonight.
It looks like Lori is muted, and then she's trying to respond to you.
Madam President,
Councilwoman Littman?
thank you. I'm looking back at notes from a prior work session, and it indicates that we had been told by administration that it would get us almost till the end of the year. That's what I have, and I don't have an exact timeline, and I'm just indicating this because administration can't get on for some reason. So what I have in my notes was we were told that the services and contracts and utilities would almost make us or be able to be paid through the end of the year. That's all I have in my notes.
Madam President, I guess that's my confusion, because if we are paying monthly under $30,000 and we have $85,000, that's not going to take us to the end of the year. And if we have bills that are lying on someone's desk that need to be paid for June, for the entire month of July, that's where I don't know how far this money is going to take us, and I need answers. Thank you.
Hello.
Ms. Sylvester, is that you?
Yes. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, and Lori is trying to still get unmuted as well,
yes.
But I was able to unmute.
Can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Go ahead, Lori.
All right. Sorry about that. I had to try to dial in about 3 more times. I apologize for that issue. I was muted. This would pay the June bills that will be due in the July billings that will be due in August, and would give us enough money to pay August, September, and October, and maybe even longer if we had to. As we've stated before, we came to you in this January, and we appropriated some money which at that time we expected to last through April. That's the money that we've just exhausted now. So we've made a lot of efforts to cut costs and put measures in place that we would decrease those monthly utility bills along with the monthly services and contracts. So this right now was what we're looking at, because we have not received all the bills in August. It would be an estimation of a minimum of 3 months.
So you're saying this could take us through November if we had to?
It's possibility, yes. Minimum of 3 months.
Thank you. Councilwoman Creamer, does that answer you?
I understand what she's stating, but there's, just looking at this audit trail month by month with these companies, it ranges. For example, Ohio Edison, on June 19th, we paid Ohio Edison over $21,000. But on July 23rd, we paid Ohio Edison $8,100. So I'm trying to budget this $85,000, and I don't know how to budget it. It sounds good that it's going to take us till the end of the year, but what if it doesn't? How much more are we going to, how much longer are we going to continue this? I mean, I'm just trying to base my decision on the evidence that I see in front of me and trying to budget this $85,000. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Council President, this is Jim Theriot.
Yes, Councilman Theriot.
Like Ms. Kramer, I do pay my bills. I am responsible, but I also don't incur bills that I can't pay. So I take offense to that insinuation. First of all, we shouldn't be running up bills we can't pay. I appreciate the administration's trying to trim it, but we said none. There's still some. There's still a lot. When's the end? That's my question. I hope someday we can get an answer to this. Thank you.
Anyone else have a question or comment?
President Eisnick,
Councilman Lewis?
I would say that when you have an operation that has well over $1 million of surplus, you can pay your $85,000. To assume that we don't have the money or we can't pay, this enterprise alone has been one of the most profitable enterprises for the city so far at this point in time. Granted, we know that there's expenses that we could possibly run into in the future, and we have to be aware of that. But at this time, to go in front of a citizen, for me to go in front of a citizen anyways, and say, yes, we know that this hospital has generated, $4.2 million, $4.3 million, and it still has well over $1 million of unused money that it has brought to the city, but we are refusing to pay $85,000 in bills. It makes no sense to me. It really, that's like saying you have $100,000 in the bank, but you're not going to pay the $100 electric bill you have every month because you don't think you can afford it. The bottom line is the hospital's brought in its revenue. It's paid for itself at this time. I agree with Ms. Creamer in the sense she wants to be able to budget and see how this is going to progress throughout the year. I agree with Mr. Thayer when he says, where is the end? And we need to be working towards that end. But as it is right now, the hospital's generated the revenue to pay its costs.
Councilman Theriot?
Thank you. That being said, yeah, okay. More money. How much would it cost just to tear down one wing of the hospital? We got any estimates of that? Because that's kind of looks like it's where it's headed. $1 million, $2 million. There's things inside the hospital have to be mitigated, like asbestos. I know there's a lot of asbestos in there. I've been in there, down in the bowels of that building many times. That's a very, very expensive proposition. To not look forward to that alone, I think, is cause for alarm. $1 million will never cover that. It'll never cover it. So we are not in a profitable situation here. We are in, we're teetering on a very, very expensive adventure. And I hope somebody can bail us out, but I don't see it. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Lewis. This is the mayor. If I may jump in and answer, at least give some direction on the asbestos.
Go ahead.
A lot of asbestos has already been mitigated. And we have some records of when the hospital did. So to say that, that number, Mr. Therrett, that can't be accurate. I know Mr. Maley was working on some costs of tear down. We've gone from anywhere from 775,000 to a little over $1 million. So we do have some numbers on that, and we are trying to make an agreement here with some doesn't help us accomplish that. And so, we don't mind being transparent, but we're working on agreements as we speak. And so we've decreased those numbers as council has asked. We want this to have an agreement and to have this behind us. And Mr. Lewis is correct. The hospital has been profitable for our city at this time. And so if you would just let the administration continue to work at this, we hope to have something concrete very soon. As you know, the VA has a lease in their hand. We filled out the lease agreement and shared that with them, and we're waiting to hear back. So we have done above and beyond what any administration could have done. And North Canton's doing the same thing. If you're paying attention to other cities in Stark County, they're taking the destinies and putting them in their own hands so that they know that they have some control over that. Otherwise, we could have had a doctor's hospital sitting in the middle of the city of Massillon for 10 years plus. And so we didn't want that either. And we're working and doing our due diligence to make this happen for the residents in the city of Massillon. So I just ask for your patience and understanding. These things don't happen overnight. And we have a couple entities right now that we're working with, and we hope to be able to bring you something very soon.
Madam President,
Yes.
Mr. Hernkane here.
Go ahead.
Budget Director Lori Boron supplied us with numbers a couple times this year. The last email I saw showed that our current net revenue on this was $1,425,872. The administration has confirmed as well what anyone could find on the state of Ohio's open checkbook, that we've incurred $259,000 approximately in legal fees, which we should also include as part of our expense. So if you take that 1.4 million figure of our net revenue and subtract 259,000 and then subtract the 245,000 approximately that we're looking at appropriating tonight, that takes our net revenue down to approximately 921,000. So if we appropriate this tonight, we're going to go below the $1 million marker. I would agree with Councilwoman Creamer and Mr. Therrett and whoever else may agree. I think we need to look at maybe setting a date where we shut the utilities off over the next 30 or 60 days.
Any other comments?
President, Madam President,
Go ahead.
this is Linda Littman. I just wanted to remind everyone that we had been told that the 160,764.74 was what it was quorum's portion of the $431,000 that we'd received. So we received $431,000 as a rebate on the real estate taxes, and we're having to cut a piece of that off of the 431 and provide it to quorum. That's what this real estate tax is. It is not in addition to the, I would say, 75 or 10,000 that is within this ordinance. My understanding that that is just a, we are just kind of a pass through. We've been given 400,000. We are cutting a portion of that off and providing it to quorum. So when we're deducting what our expenses are, I guess if we're deducting the whole 245, we have to be including the 431.
Thank you.
Madam President, this is Dave Maley. I also wanted to make council aware that at this point in time, we had $150,000 that we did pay in real estate taxes this year, and that we expect to get exempted. The actual timeline for the school board to appeal was, I believe, on the 27th of last month. And as of I speak now, I have not heard that appeal had taken place. They said it could take a little longer before they hear, but at this point, we have $150,000 that could be to our advantage here in the near future with a rebate from the Stark County Auditor.
Thank you, Mr. Maley. Anyone else?
Madam President, may I add
Yes.
something on to that?
Go ahead, Mayor.
Well, as we spoke before, and I know Mrs. Creamer sent Barb and I an email over the weekend, there are other valuables in the hospital: doors, windows, generators, equipment. There are other valuables that we still can auction off if the choice is to demolish the building. So I would anticipate having more revenue from the hospital in the near future.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Lewis.
Creamer and Thayer both have their hands up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Creamer.
Thank you. I would just encourage administration to set a hard stop date. You know, if we have 900,000 or if we have $1.1 million, eventually this is going to be being reduced month after month to pay utility bills and whatever else arises. I really think we have to push. We have to give these three entities. I know we keep talking about two entities, but I thought I recalled there was a third that was interested too. I'm not hearing much about that third entity. I don't know if administration can give us an update. Has that entity withdrawn their interest? But I think that account with that revenue is slowly going to be reduced over time. And, you know, we've stated that we have to be fiscally responsible. We have COVID issues with our revenues. And I would like to walk away from this situation with money in our account than having nothing or in the red. So I think we just need to be careful and make this a positive, so when we walk away, we have money to walk away with in our hand, not ending with a zero balance or a negative balance and saying, oh, well, we did our best. I think there's a time to walk away. And, you know, if that third entity is willing to demolish that building and put something positive for our community in that area, that would be great. But I just don't like being, you know, just waiting for these two other entities to make up their mind. We should be in the driver's seat. We need to be taking control of the situation. Thank you.
Mrs. Creamer, I don't disagree with you, but I don't know what you think we've been doing, twiddling our thumbs or eating bonbons, but we have been working every day and every hour that we can on that project. And no one, no one out of the entire group that voted for this wants to have a positive story more than I do. So we are not just sitting on our hands doing nothing. This staff, small but mighty, I'm very proud of, as I've said before. They can do amazing work together, and they have. And we are trying to get the best deal out of this hospital that we can get. And we want an end date as well. And there will be one, but we have to continue this because the one entity wants the property functional. The other entity does not. And so, and the third entity doesn't want the property as well. So, so only one that we're working with, to include the VA, they would be working together. But it's a complex situation, and our staff has done an outstanding job at that. And I really do take a little offense, not a lot, just a little offense to you thinking that we're not doing anything and we don't have a drop dead. Yes, Mr. Therrett, I can see you shaking your head. We've worked hard on this, and all 7 council people that are sitting there today voted yes on this issue. And we all want a positive ending to this. And I don't know if 2 of you have some ulterior motives for being on council and just really putting this in a negative light, but this council has done an outstanding job on trying to do what's best in the best interest of the resident. They've done an outstanding job. And we've done an outstanding job dropping the monthly fees. And we're getting to the end, and that we should have something concrete here soon. And if we don't, we will shut it down and we will auction off the rest of the items in the hospital. And then we'll prepare to auction it or sell it. So I think, and I want my staff to know, outstanding job that they've done. And the 7 members of council who are still sitting there, they had hard decisions to make. And I'm very proud of every single one of them, even the 2 that left, for making that decision. It was a 9-0 vote, if you recall. And it was a tough decision. It was a tough decision for all of us. And for someone to come onto council and just start throwing things around, it's offensive. It should be offensive to every council member and to our residents that these people have worked so hard for the best interests of our residents. And we tried our best to put another hospital entity in there. The costs were too high to turn that around because the other entity did not maintain it properly. That's why. And so we have to move forward. And it's hard to move forward, but to have negative people just throwing darts at this is terrible. We have to work as a team and get this done. And many people are looking at us and watching these council meetings. And I'm a little embarrassed that we're spending so much time on this because, as Mr. Lewis said, these bills, we voted 9-0 to take this on. They must be paid. And so I would just ask for your cooperation and your support and understanding as we go through these next couple months so we can bring a deal to the residents of Massillon that everyone will be proud of.
Madam President.
Excuse me, this is Nancy Halder. May I speak?
Yes, Nancy, go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. I just heard Mrs. Eisnick. I just want to say that I feel that we're out of order right now. We're doing a lot of talking about nothing that concerns this particular ordinance. I think we need to get back to this ordinance. This has nothing to do with the future of the hospital. This means we need to pay our bills. And I feel like the mayor, I think this is getting very political. So let's look at it. We need to pay the bills and then we can discuss it later. Thank you.
Councilman Hurricane?
Thank you, Madam President. The mayor mentioned an entity that wanted to use a portion. Did I hear that correctly? A portion of the hospital, not the entire facility?
They're out of order again.
Councilwoman Halter, I'm the president of council, and I will let Mr. Hernkane speak. Go ahead, Mr. Hernkane.
Thank you. I just want to comment or I guess ask a question on what the mayor stated. She said there's an entity interested in a partial or a portion of the facility, and I wanted to make sure I heard that correct, that it was not the entire facility.
Yes, the VA is only interested in 19,500 square feet. There's another entity that we may be able to partner with them, and that's what we're working on as we speak.
So would you, then who would, if the VA or some other entity occupied a portion of the building, would we be required to pay utilities and maintenance on the remainder of the building?
Yes.
No, we would not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Lewis, I can't hear you.
I'm in agreement with, I just wanted to say I'm in agreement with conversations, but we have to be very careful. Questions like the one that was just asked and answered starts to get awfully close to contract negotiations, which we should be careful because you're talking about who would pay this and who might be part of the negotiation. That would be something I would negotiate, who's responsible for utilities, who's not, how do we split that? You might not be ready to go public on all those finer details. Mr. Hernkane was able to get his answer though. I just want to warn council, when you start going down those rabbit holes, just be careful because there may become a wall where we have to protect ourselves and not answer or go into an executive session for.
Thank you.
Just have one question, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. I understand the VA is interested in leasing. I guess the whole question, I'm sure that the city and the administration is doing everything they possibly can. Never insinuated that wasn't the case. My only question was responsibility of it. Are we going to be landlords now? If we're leasing this, it's still ours to and our responsibility and our more bills that we incur. If they're leasing a small portion, like you said, that's not going to pay. That's not going to pay for everything. I'm just concerned that, like I said, we're just throwing money down the proverbial rabbit.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. I think administration has heard council's concerns. Let's get back to voting on ordinance number 69, 2020.
I make a motion that we bring ordinance number 69-2020 forward for a vote.
Second,
Councilwoman Starrett.
roll call.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
No.
Creamer,
Yes.
Greg, Halter,
Yes.
Hernkane,
No.
Hernkane,
No.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
and Lombardi.
No.
That will be 6 yes and 3 no.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 69 has passed. Ordinance number 69, 2020 has passed. Ordinance number 70, 2020.
An ordinance making certain transfers in the 2020 appropriations from within the 1100 general fund for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes, this ordinance is related to the transfers that would have taken for the, what's the word I'm looking for? The transfers for the position in which they were working an average of 27 hours to 28 hours a week, but they needed to extend benefits to the person to go above 30 hours per week. Are there any questions or discussion this evening?
Hearn Kane has a question.
Go ahead, Councilman Hurricane.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the part-time employee that we talked about a couple weeks ago, correct? And then the
Correct.
insurance. Okay, I think I heard different things a couple weeks ago, either at, I believe it was at the work session. I believe the administration said that the employee is already working in excess of 30 hours a week, therefore she is entitled to health insurance. But I believe I also heard the auditor state that the employee has not ever worked more than 30 hours. That's something that I made a note of and took away from a prior meeting, that there was maybe some confusion on whether she was or was not, or has not hit the 30-hour marker. Does anyone else have that same question or hear the
Yes.
same thing I did?
Yes, the auditor's office did make a comment in a previous meeting that they were averaging, I think, something like 27.3 or something between 27 and 28 hours.
7.3.
So to that point, the auditor is saying that they have not yet reached that 30-hour mark.
So we're anticipating that that person will, and we're appropriating or funding money that once that happens. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Anyone else? Councilman Lewis?
Mr. Third has a question.
I don't see where you're seeing that. I'm looking at my screen, but I don't see that. Councilman Tharrett?
Thank you, Council President. My only question is, well, if this is you're moving into full-time, or are we going to make it a full-time position?
I can speak to that.
We're only having her 30 hours.
So, President Eisnick, just to kind of clarify that, I personally am opposed to this, but I do want to try to fairly represent previous conversations that had been had. This person would be working 30 hours or more per week. And if they are to average that 30 hours or more per week, then we are mandated by law to provide them benefits. And that is why this transfer is being put before council.
Anyone else? Councilman Lombardi?
Thank you, President Eisnick. That being said, Mr. Lewis, wouldn't it be more appropriate for them to come to us and ask us for a new position or reclassify this position rather than throwing money into the current classification?
Again, just for fair representation of previous conversations, this is not a new classification per se. This person is still part-time, so their classification would be remaining the same. And the auditor had made statements that in the past, if the money would have already been in this account line item, the administration would not even had to have come to council. The only reason they have to come to us is because there is not a budgeted amount of money in the line item that they would have to draw from.
Anyone else?
Madam President?
Councilwoman Littman?
Thank you. I did want to also note that the auditor stated that this is not the only position that will turn to a permanent part-time, that we already have that, I don't know if you want to call it a classification, a determination as to what a 30-hour per week position would be. And they stated it was called a permanent part-time, and that there are others in the city that have the same scenario. Again, repeating what Mr. Lewis has said, we would not be even approving or denying this if the funds had been there in the line item to pay anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Lewis?
I make a motion that we bring ordinance number 70-2020 forward for a vote.
Seconded by?
Councilwoman Starrett,
Roll call?
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
No.
Gregg,
Yes.
Alter,
Yes.
Hurricane,
No.
Lewis,
No.
Whitman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
No.
and Sterrett.
Yes.
Four, 5 yes, and 4 no.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 70, 2020 has passed.
Madam President,
Yes.
I just want to make sure we make a notation that the emergency language on ordinance number 70, 2020 did fail, even though the ordinance itself did pass. So the transfer cannot take place for 30 days.
Thank you. Second reading ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 71, 2020.
An ordinance amending sections 2 and 4 of ordinance number 70-2017, appointing the city records custodian and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Gregg.
Thank you, Madam President. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. This ordinance we discussed last week, it came before us and we had some questions on whether we should be appointing a particular person or not. We found out through discussion that we do need to appoint a particular person, in this case Samantha Walters, to be the city records custodian. So therefore I make a motion that we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings of this ordinance and bring it forward, bring ordinance number 71, 2020 forward for a vote.
Seconded by?
Councilwoman Sterrett.
Roll call for suspension?
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg, Gregg,
Yes.
Alter,
Yes.
Hurricane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Sterrett,
Yes.
and Barrett.
Yes.
9 yes for suspension.
And for passage?
Gregg, Alter,
Yes.
Hurricane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Sterrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
and Creamer.
Yes.
9 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 71, 2020 has passed. We've arrived at number 17 on our agenda, where the public can speak on any item that did not appear on tonight's agenda. If you wish to do so, please state your name, topic you wish to discuss, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Madam President,
Yes.
Madam Mayor, and the rest of the staff and my fellow Massillon, Ohio citizens. Larry L.J. DeLuca, 2954 Veterans Boulevard, Southeast Massillon, Ohio. I wanted to talk about Affinity Medical Center. It's been a hot topic now. I talked on the phone to my friend Chief Tom Bergerser and Fire Chief Inspector Mike Kinfora. I had some questions about our sprinkler systems at the old Affinity Medical Center. Dave Maley was last week, I think, touting to bring people over. I think he wants to make only council members, but I've got a very good inside track of what's going on over there at the Affinity Medical Center, David Maley. You said it was very good condition. The Madam Mayor said it's very marketable. We've got a 300 square foot building, has more leaks in it, several leaks in places like any flat roof, but leaks on the ceiling tiles. Those tiles are falling to the floor. Boom. Fire Chief Tom Bergerser is a certified inspector, and he's in the building almost every day, 5:15 to 6:30 a.m. He moves around, and he inspects the building. Thank God for Chief Bergerser. He spends his lunch there, too, and he makes sure our Affinity Medical Center is safe The buildings are maintained and they get responded. We have a lot of bills here. Chief Burgess has said to me that the Infinity Medical Center is fully functional. The sprinkler system, he calls out Johnson Controls because Simplex, Cornell, and Johnson Control take care of the building on the outside. I don't know if you've looked at the audit trail lately, my fellow Massillon City residents. Look at the big bills we're incurring from that. Chief Burgess, he takes a look at this and he takes care of it on his own time. I want everybody to know he doesn't spend 1 hour on city time. He's had a wonderful career with the city of Massillon, so he takes care of that. He's that kind of guy that I like. He takes care of it right then and there. So we got Johnson Controls and Simplex Grinnell taking care of the outside. And Chief Burgess and many others high up in the administration said they've been there time and time again. Just look at the audit trail by account that our auditor, Jane Ferraro, has put to me. And I'm looking over here now. I can't go through this. It's adding up. It's adding up. Another top official, the building said it's going to end up being demolished. If an outside concern comes in, it doesn't take control of that. But if an outside control entity comes in, they've got to take care of the maintenance. They've got to take care of, there's a bunch of things. And I remember when Mayor Kathy Casvari was touting with, and she has a lot of credibility and stuff with Eddie Roth. And he said, we looked through it with our engineers and the clinical people, and a fair amount of due diligence went into the facility. He said, Massillon Community Hospital put a lot into it. They invested heavily in the facilities, but it's a large infrastructure, has high cost. The roofs, the boiler plant infrastructure, election, HVA, and everything else like that. It's a large campus, 300,000 square foot in one building, 3 or 4 buildings on the campus. And we looked at it, if we could operate that, it came down that we can't do it financially and in a sustainable manner. The mayor has a lot of trust in Eddie Roth. And finally, I'll end up. I'm very concerned about this. I talked to the law director, Bill Bartos, just before our meeting. I understand that you voted on the Infinity Medical Center, the bulk of the money, $168,000 to repay the former quorum. However, I understand from me going around and looking, from some other high executive in the mayor's thing, and from Barb Sylvester, the safety and service director, we don't have our police department, our rent-a police people there 24/7, 365, day and night. Ms. Sylvester said that she's counting on the Massillon Police Department to do that. However, it says that the remainder of the sums that you guys consider were to pay utilities, building maintenance, and security and upkeep of the hospital grounds. Now, I'll end it with this. How are we going to vote on security when we don't have a security there? Thank you very much, and I do hope that the mayor can turn things around. It'd be a feather in her hat. It'd be jobs for that building. And I do believe that the staff is doing a great job, but it's time right now to get rid of it, and we've got to do it now. Thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. DeLuca. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Before I call on Councilman Lombardi, I would like to just make a comment about some of the conversations tonight. When we were on ordinance number, I believe it was 69, 2020, we did get off topic, but I know that council has lots of questions about what's going on with Affinity. And I know that the administration has been working hard on it, and there's a lot of frustrations and the pandemic and tempers are running high. I feel everybody on council has the right to their opinion. And when they voice it, I don't know so much as they're criticizing, but just having concerns. So I do appreciate both sides opening up. And that's why I did allow a little extra leeway there for people to voice their opinions. Councilman Lombardi.
I believe you wanted Councilman Sterrett.
Oh, did she have a comment? I was going for adjournment.
That would be me, Your Honor. Madam President, sorry. I make a motion that we adjourn.
Seconded by?
Littman.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.